is women in male-dominant jobs. And according to Catalyst in 2013, in male-dominant occupations and industries, they only contain 25% or less women in total employment. And although nowadays many male-dominant industries are hiring women, there's still a great gap between men and women working there. And in the U.S. and around the world, many women have been discriminated and made feel less because they do not see them equal to men. And in this room, there are many females who might want to go into male-dominant industries, and it is good to be aware of what they have gone through and what they are still going through. And I am a female, and I also want to go into a male-dominant industry, which is law enforcement. And learning about how women are being treated will help us understand what women are going through in these male-dominant jobs. And first, I will talk about the background of women in these male-dominant jobs. Secondly, I will talk about some problems and challenges they face. And lastly, I will talk about two specific male-dominant jobs where there's a low percentage of women working in. So first, when was there a time where women started to be accepted? Well, to get a better knowledge, you must know the background of when they got accepted into society. So ever since the Civil War, women had argued for their rights and for a voice in society, and which led to women's suffrage. And because of women's suffrage, in 1887, Susanna M. Salter was able to get elected as mayor. And also, when men would go into war, women would take over their jobs, and Rosie the Riveter came to be, and she became a symbol for feminism and for hardworking women. And a job where it was hard for women to get accepted in was in the military. And according to the Colonial Williamsburg Foundation, ever since the Revolutionary War, women would only help as nurses, cooks, and laundresses, and men did not see them capable of being in combat. But until 1970, things started to change, and they were able to get drafted, and new opportunities opened. They were able to fight and fly planes, but it took over 200 years for women to actually be accepted into the military. And I'll let you know some background. I'm going to talk about some problems and challenges they face. So in male-dominant jobs like police, emergency services, construction, engineering, there's really a low percentage of women who work there, and many feel discriminated and oppressed, and that they tend to move to gender equality jobs. And one reason why they tend to move is because the jobs are physically demanding. And June in 2013, Kay Hill from Times Free Press interviewed Michelle Heckman, who is a plumber, and she said it was hard for her to work as a plumber because people looked at her differently, and even when she would go into a job, people would ask if she needed help because they thought that she was incapable of doing her own job, and they thought she didn't know, and even her male co-workers would treat her differently. And another reason why females don't stay in these traditional male jobs is because they have children. And most of the time, men usually care more about money, so they tend to work overtime, and women do not have the time to be able to balance being with their children and working overtime. So in 2013, Young Ju Cha, an assistant professor at Indiana University, did a study where mothers are 52% more likely to leave. And like I said, it's because they don't have the time to balance children and work. And now that I talked about some challenges and problems they face, I'm going to talk about two specific jobs. And one specific male-dominant job is sports media. And you can see in a census done by American Society of News Editors, from 1999 to 2013, there was actually a decrease in female workers, 0.6% working in sports media. And sports is usually said to be a man's specialty, and that they're the ones who only know about it. But nowadays, there are many women who actually know a lot about sports, just as men. But they just feel like oppressed, and because men usually want to hear men talk about sports and not women. And when asked about if sexism was a big deal in sports media, NFL Network chief Andrea Kramer said that females are usually token hires in the sports media, which means that they're usually hired because they want like to show that women are also know about sports and can be in the sports media, but there's still a low percentage of them working there. And another job is law enforcement. According to Kurtz Crook, a special contributor to the cops office, in 1970 there was only 2% of female working as police officers, and in 2013 it rose only to 13%. So there's still a low percentage of women working there. And usually women in law enforcement tend to be harassed and oppressed because by their male coworkers, because they do not see them the same. And many of these women do not pass the requirement process because the process usually is based on men, what they can do, and the abilities between men and women are not the same. So many of the women first do not get hired, and then afterwards they get discriminated and harassed, and that makes them not want to stay. But in 1995, the National Association of Women in Law Enforcement Executives formed, and they were able to help women try to go into higher positions and overcome the discrimination and oppression they're going to. So first, I talked about the background of women being in these male-dominant jobs. Secondly, I talked about a problem and challenge they face. And lastly, I talked about 2 specific male-dominant jobs. And I just want you guys to know that even though women are said to be equal to men, they are still going through a rough time being in a male-dominant job. And yeah.